Welcome. I'm Julie Bacon, and you're listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast, a podcast for dog handlers who are on a mission to achieve big goals. Here I share lessons, insights, personal stories, and tools you can apply during your next show, trial, or test to help you strengthen your mental game and hopefully cue more consistently. Be sure to check out the show notes where you'll find details about the episodes, plus important links, including the link to the Dogged Planner and Workbook created just for handlers on a mission. So if you're ready to improve your competitive mindset, get out of your own way, and connect with your dog like never before, then it's time to get comfy, bring an open mind, and work your mindset. Hey there, welcome back to the podcast. All right, this week we're talking about the end of the honeymoon period. All right, and what I'm talking about is young dogs. And I think that what happens to us, or at least it's happening to me, and I'm sure everybody can relate, is you get this new puppy or a new to you dog. Maybe it's a rescue, maybe it's an older dog, and you get it, and oh my God, the sky is the limit. This is the most brilliant dog that's ever lived. They're going to do everything, all the hopes and dreams pinned on the very steadfast shoulders of this new puppy or young dog, and the sky's the limit. This is amazing. And you teach it a few things and it's brilliant. Oh my God, it gets it right away. It's so smart. Look at this puppy. It's so smart. You think your puppy's smart? This puppy's so much smarter. And you just get all excited about it, as one should. Wouldn't change a thing. Quite honestly, it's probably a little bit of how the puppy stays alive, right? Between being cute and being brilliant and learning things, because then, of course, maybe potty training stuff, or it chews up your favorite slippers or something, right? So we always joke, that's why puppies are cute, so that it keeps them alive when they're being naughty. But in any case, I think that when we first get a dog, we are all filled with promise and hope and future, and nothing has gone wrong yet, and everything's easy, and it learns really quickly. And whether it's been a long time since you've had a puppy or a short time, a couple years or less that you've had a puppy, everything's just going so smoothly. This is so amazing. And it's wonderful. And I experienced that with my puppy, with every puppy I've ever had, as a matter of fact. And most recently with Kelsey, who's my youngest, she's now 14 months. I took her to my national and she was just shy of 9 months old. And she went in the performance ring 10 times and cued 9 times. Honeymoon period. I was like, oh my God, she's flawless. This is amazing. She's so smart. Oh my God. And yeah, they're starting to enter like teenage phase, maybe if they have their hormones or something like that. But, fantastic. And now she's 14 months, and I took her in a ring over the weekend, and wouldn't you know it, she acted her age. It was terrible. Okay? So I'm sort of joking, sort of not, in that I really thought that this beautiful, blissful moment where she went into her national in the obedience ring in April, and the class was like 60 some dogs, and she placed 4th. She's 9 months old. She had no business doing that, but I was convinced this meant she was royalty. Okay? And I'm exaggerating. I'm having fun with it. But then lo and behold, several months later, she walks into the ring and is like, I've never seen this before. What do you mean I'm supposed to, walk next to you in a position? What are you talking about? I'm very busy. I'm very distracted. Not very mindful, not very demure. Like, she was all over the place. She was acting her age, right? She was acting like a puppy who hasn't been in the ring that much because she's 14 months old. And I bring all of this up and I tell all of these stories because I think this happens to all of us, in that we think our puppies are perfect. We go merrily along. Everything's going beautifully. And at some point it gets hard. At some point it's not that they plateau. I think it's just that we start expecting more of them, as well as asking more of them. And because everybody, ourselves included, our youngest selves included, maybe even our 5-year-old selves, we all mature at different rates. We all process information differently. Sometimes she might your puppy might catch on to one thing really easily and another thing might be hard, or it's a, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back kind of thing. Or they hit an age where they're distracted, or where their brains are coming in, or their hormones are changing, or their bodies, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is, it suddenly gets hard. And suddenly we're not okay with it. And whether or not we get discouraged or frustrated or sad or mad, or we just are like fed up or whatever it is, there is a period of time when the honeymoon phase, right, which I would say that my experience, my story of taking a 9-month-old to a national and doing really well is total honeymoon phase. Completely. She probably walked into the ring, followed me around just because she didn't know where she was. Who knows? All right. But I would call that honeymoon phase. And so now that's over. And now I'm asking her to do more things, harder things that require a little more skill, a little more learning. And sometimes we rush that and their brains aren't developed enough to learn something. So maybe they're mimicking or they're doing it by accident, but they don't really internalize it as well. So then a month later, they've completely forgotten what it is, right? I mean, this is not... we're not here to talk about dog training, okay? That is someone else's podcast or many wonderful podcasts out there to talk about that. So I'm not going to go too deep into that. All I'm going to say is, they're physiologically, easy for me to say, changing and going through all those changes. So they might be full grown on the outside, but there's still so much on the inside going on. And so, but what we see is, well, training 3 months ago was very simple. I would show you something, I would show you something once and you would do it and you would brilliant and we would move on. But now we start to move on to harder things. And I think as the handler, we start to have reactions, responses, and maybe even frustrations, maybe even disillusionment or over the speed of the progress that we were maybe used to in that honeymoon phase and maybe is no longer. And I think, I've had this conversation with clients. I've certainly had this conversation with friends, with fellow handlers, right? When you get to that point in your relationship with the dog and it's the hard point. And then you fast forward 6 years later, that magical 6 number, but you fast forward 6, maybe even 8 years later, and you're running your, comfortable slipper, your best pal, everything's really easy. And you suddenly have amnesia for how hard it was those first 2-3 years, right? Or how hard it was to teach them a skill that they now do easily. And we forget. And in that forgetting, okay, then the new puppy comes along, we hit that hard point again. And maybe through a dog's life, there might be 2 or 3 hard points, who's to know? But the point is we hit those points and we forget that it was hard. And we forget that this is a normal, maybe frustrating section of their life or their part of their learning or the part of our becoming a team that gets really difficult and we don't like it. And we're uncomfortable with it and we're just ready for it to be easy. And why can't it be easy like that other dog? Or why can't it be easy like it was 5 months ago? And frustration. So even in training, doesn't necessarily have to be in the ring, but it can be. But even in our training, we have to remember from a mindset standpoint that our frustration is there as feedback. It's feedback as to where the dog really is, for instance, or how the dog is really learning, or at what stage they are, or that they are or are not getting it, or they do or don't have confidence, or all of those other things that we are responsibly working to teach our dogs. They are giving us that feedback, and in some cases, we're just frustrated with what they're showing us, right? That old adage of, we teach the dog, and then they show us what they've learned. So instead of being open and curious and taking that frustration as feedback and letting it inform us and taking a step back and figuring out a different training process or, getting help from a different source or something like that. Instead of doing any of those things, we go into full frustration mode. Or we throw up our hands and we were like, this dog isn't going to do what I thought it was going to do. I had all these dreams and hopes and all this. And like, I don't know if this dog's ever going to get it. And we want to throw in the towel suddenly. And what I'm proposing is that we need to all look at this as just, oh, this is the end of the honeymoon period. I'm now on to phase 2 or 7 or whatever. Who knows? I don't even know. I don't have phases for this. But like, if you had phases, you're on to the next phase, whatever that is. And it's the next phase of development, but it's also the next phase of your relationship building. So again, instead of looking at it as failure or setback or any of those really negative things, just to have that really, just to lean back into the growth mindset, to be committed to the fact that you are playing the long game with this dog. And remember, when I talk about the long game, what I mean by that is everything that you do with them is an investment in their future selves, right? On one hand, you logically know that you and your dog are going to hit your peak when the dog is 6, for instance, right? That's always the magical year. We always think we're going to shorten it with this next dog, and it always ends up being 6, which, with my breed really irks me, right? Because I don't feel like I have that long. Anyway, separate conversation, no tangents. But let's say you're going to be that relationship when you're 6, and you have this really clear, beautiful vision of what that looks like, and you running together and how amazing that is, and just how effortless and how in flow you are. Okay. That relationship has to get built, and it gets built through fire and trial and tribulation and how you respond to, taking care of your dog's confidence and how you build them up and how you teach them and how you go through all of those, weeks, months, and years to get there. So when I say that it's an investment in the long game, it's an investment in your future selves as a team. So your setback today, my puppy going in the ring, forgetting why she was even in the ring to begin with, is, you know what? I walked out of the ring and I was like, oh, what do you know? She acted her age today. What a concept. She went into an obedience ring and acted like a 14-month-old puppy. A, how can I possibly be disappointed? And B, the girl needs miles. She needs to walk into the ring and get miles. Because if I'm investing in her future self, one of the things I want her to have is a lot of experience, walking into different venues, doing different things, having different versions of stress. So it's all investment. It's all investment in her future self. But we forget that honeymoon phase is a real thing. And at some point it comes to an end, and then comes maybe the phase that is a lot less fun. Right? And after this, I'm going to come into remember that third thing I talked about? We're going to bring that back into this conversation in just a sec. Hey everyone, I'm so excited to share that we have our first sponsor on the podcast, St. Rocco. You might already know them for their amazing all-natural jerky-style treats, but did you know they also make entrees and food toppers with the same top-notch ingredients? It's true. I've got to be honest, I'm a huge fan of these treats. I use them all the time, whether I'm training, at trials, or even when it's just nail trimming time. My dogs love them, and it feels good to support a small business that genuinely cares about our dogs. And there's something special just for you. St. Rocco is giving Q listeners 20% off. Just use the code JB20 at checkout when you order from saintroccostreats.shop. That's SAINTROCCOS treats.shop, code JB20. I will also put a link in the show notes. Okay, so the third thing, just in case you haven't heard me say that on a previous podcast, is something that I heard probably on TikTok, let's be honest. But I heard it was in the context of an Olympic coach talking to an Olympic athlete. And the Olympic athlete was having a really hard time. And she was just, felt like she was beating her head against the wall, wasn't getting anywhere. It was just hard. And the coach said, look, training for anything, working toward any goal should be a third fantastic. Like you feel achievement, you feel like you're making progress, life is good, smiles, etc. A third is meh, like you're putting in the work, it's fine, it's not happy, it's not sad, it's just neutral. And a third sucks. A third is the getting up early or the drudging or the, falling down 7-time kind of thing. Okay. The thing that happens to us is when that balance is off, whether you want to think of it as a pie chart, let's think of it as a lovely pie chart, equal parts, third. When that is off, when we are 50% or more into that ick phase, that means that we're probably not getting a lot of joy back. We're probably not even having a lot of neutral days. We're just like, oh, this freaking sucks. This dog, I love this dog, but also, my God, this dog, right? And our mindset, it's really hard for us to get excited about training, or maybe we don't even want a trial. Maybe we're just like, I don't know what to do with this dog. I don't even know, kind of thing, right? We've all been there. Now, sometimes we're there for a week. Sometimes we're there for a year, okay? Just kind of depends. Kind of depends on the phase. But when you're in that grind, you need to work to figure out how to even up that pie chart, how to get back to approximately, and it will never be perfect, but approximately a third finding joy and having fun, a third that it's just neutral, it just is what it is, and a third is the grind, okay, the work, the not fun part. Now, you can find that joy by maybe doing something different with that puppy. That's something they're good at, something where they have confidence at, and that will pay off dividends later, right? Because you're building relationship, you're going back to the things that they're good at, you're building that connection, you're building their confidence, you're just going like back and strengthening that foundation. That might bring you joy. It also might bring you joy to set that dog aside and go do something with a different dog. Or you might have to put all the dogs away and go to the movies. But we need to make sure that we are taking care of that part of us that is balanced, that can then get up and go do the work with the right mindset, with the curiosity, with the patience that sometimes it takes to teach a new skill, with the drive, the motivation, with the discipline when motivation wanes, right? So in finding that balance, it's not always easy, but I'll tell you, for sure when you're out of balance because you feel like you're not making any progress. You feel like there's nothing coming back. You're putting all of this effort out and nothing is coming back. When you feel that, that's how you know that third thing is out of whack. And you need to do something to fix that. Because again, sort of like, fill your own cup, oxygen masks on your own self first, take care of yourself first kind of thing. If you are going out to train and you are grumpy and crabby and walk out with a frustrated attitude, how's that training session going to go? How's that trial going to go? I mean, I can personalize it, right? If I go take Moxie to an agility trial, be having all kinds of feelings about her weave bowls, how's that going to go? I don't even have to run. I can tell you how it went. So we have to figure out that balance in our head, and we're the only ones who know that it gets out of whack. I don't know, maybe those people closest to us kind of notice when we're out of whack too. But we have to really be mindful of that. And we have to develop awareness around that and not just say, oh, I know why I'm crabby or I know why I'm frustrated. It's because, I'm not having any fun right now. I'm not getting anything back. And it's almost like a return on your emotional investment, right? You're not getting that return. That's not enough. You have to take control and then do something about it. You have to be the one to say okay, if this is happening, how do I get the balance back? It might be, like I said, it might be with that dog. It might be doing something totally different. But what I would propose that from a relationship standpoint, if you're feeling that way about your dog might be feeling that way about you. So you probably need to go do something together that you can figure out, what's fun. Go swimming, go for a hike, go do something different, go, do something that they enjoy. I'm always going on about joy for our dogs and finding stuff that makes them happy too, since, pretty much 24 hours a day they're on our schedule doing what we want them to do. Here, you eat now. Here, you go out now. Here, you come in now. Here, you work now, right? That's all on our schedule. So even in my planner, and in my goal setting methodology, I built in joy, because we have to find things and prioritize joy, because it's too easy for us to get in these grooves of just kind of work, trial, practice, yada, yada. And while we love it, we still need to find joy for ourselves, but we really need to find joy for our dogs. So if your dog's favorite thing is to go to Petco and wander around, and even though it's a big pain in the butt for you to do that, that's what you're going to do. Or if they love to go for a hike or a sniffy walk where they just get to sniff all the things, much to your frustration, then that's what they get to do. Or swimming or whatever it is, right? So when we prioritize the joy for them, we then reconnect to what the joy is between us. And then that third can start to come into balance as well, because we also start to see them through different eyes. We start to realize that, like, God, this dog loves to swim, loves the water, just playing around in the water, standing there in the shore, digging holes, whatever it is that they love to do. It's rejuvenating them. It's strengthening the relationship. It's finding joy, because of course we're happy when our dogs are happy, and it's getting that balance again. Okay. So back to the young dogs and the honeymoon phase, we have to build awareness around the fact that, like, this isn't going to be hard forever. It's temporary. It feels like it's going to last forever. It may think like there is no end in sight, no light at the end of the tunnel, insert metaphor here, but it is temporary. And us working through it will improve our relationship as a whole over time. And everything that we do now is an investment in the future. So when we think of that even those hard times, we're like, okay, we're going to go through this together. We're going to figure this out. And I'm going to approach this with curiosity, or I'm going to get help or different support. And, maybe it leads you to a different person, or, who knows where it leads you, right? But to understand that, and even to say out loud that, like, okay, honeymoon phase is over. You're still brilliant, but these are some of the hard spots that we have to go through in our journey together as a freaking awesome team that I know that we are. Okay, so that's some young dog perspective, maybe a little bit from me personally, and having my own, reaction to that this weekend. And again, the good thing is because I was aware of it, I wasn't disappointed. I literally came out of the ring, of course, very disappointed I shouldn't say disappointed. Yeah, I was disappointed. Why not? Disappointed in the performance. And frankly, there was some other fancy obedience people there, as well as some friends and other people. I was a little embarrassed too, because she had done so well before. And then who was this heathen, right, that went in the ring? It was a hot mess. But that lasted literally a nanosecond, because I was like, no, you're through the honeymoon period, and this dog is acting like a puppy, and okay. Right on time. Yeah, she's a 14-month-old puppy who went in there and acted like it. Okay. So I very quickly, because of the realization, or I should say because I acknowledged it, it was easier to work through it because I could name it. When we name things like that, we take away their power. And so when I was able to name that, I was like, yeah, okay, this is what's happening. And then I also came home that night and was very motivated to find an online course that I want to sign up for her, right? So it works. It all works, but you just have to stick with it and know that it's just a phase. You had the honeymoon period, everything was all, rainbows and unicorns and what have you. And now you're in that phase where it's not as fun. Find your joy, find a way through that, and lean into the curiosity, and know that everything you're doing today is for your future team self will thank you and will reflect all the work that you put in. Okay. So think about that this week. Think about that like with all your dogs of different ages. Think about how that impacts you, maybe how that has impacted you in the past, etc. And just let me know your thoughts. Would love to hear back. So as always, whatever you're up to this week with your dogs, I hope you have a fantastic time. Thanks so much for listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast with me, Julie Bacon. I am so grateful for your precious time. Check out my Dogged Planner, workbook, and journal available on Amazon. Just search for Dogged Planner. I also offer monthly membership that's perfect for ongoing support of your awesome goals. Check out theqcoach.com for details, or just stop by and check out all the ways you can work on your mindset. And be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at theqcoach and let me know how it's going. Finally, please share, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps us podcasters tremendously. Plus, I know I get my best podcast recommendations from friends. Thanks, and have a great week with your dogs.